Welcome back. No one can argue that traditional family roles have changed dramatically of late. With the increase of divorce and one-parent families in this country, the role of the father has become marginalised to a certain extent.
According to our next guest, psychotherapist Benig Mauger, there's a need to reclaim and recognise the impact a father has on the development of his child. Benig, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
There's so many absent fathers nowadays. I mean, a lot of children are brought up with no father figure at all. How does that affect a child?
I think it's hard to say exactly how it affects a child, but the reality is that children, babies are born expecting to be parented by, they're expecting to be parented by a male figure and a female figure in terms of the archetypal imprint of the mother and the father. And if there isn't a father around, the particular qualities that he brings to the child aren't there, you know, so sometimes mothers will feel they have to try and be a father to the child as well as a mother, which is very difficult. And we know that, when I was doing the research on the book, that absent fathering in particular has a particular influence on sons, because a father is a boy's role model. So, you know, he looks to him and thinks, this is what I'm going to be when I grow up, this is what a man is. So if he's not around, there's a void, you know, there's a sort of space there.
When you say fatherly influences, does it of necessity mean male sexual fatherly influences, or can the fatherly influences be provided by, for example, a female in a same-sex relationship, for example, two women with a son?
Can, but it's not the same, because they're women, they're not men. So absolutely, we have in Jungian terminology, we have an inner man. You and I have an inner man, and Mark has an inner woman. So we have we have male and female energies within us, absolutely. So the qualities that the masculine have can be in women also, but it's not the same.
What about the differences between, and I'm sure there are studies done on this, children who are brought up in the traditional family unit and children who aren't? Is there a major or single significant difference between children who are brought up between a man and a woman and, say, in a single-parent family?
I think, in a single-parent family. Well, I think that the single-parent family is something that we see, you know, more and more in our society. And I mean, myself, you know, my children, although they were older when we got divorced, but so I think children have different things to deal with. And sometimes single-parent families have fathers around anyway, you know, the children see their fathers. But the traditional roles are changing, and I think one of the reasons that I wanted to write the book, because, as you know, my first book was much more about the mother in terms of nurturing and childbirth, was that the role of the father often, you know, hasn't been seen as so important to the development of the child, and he is important. So that doesn't mean that in a non-traditional family, children, they have the same needs, but you don't have to, you know, you don't have to stay together for the sake of the children just because the child needs a father, as long as the child has access to the father. That's the main thing, and does things with the father.
What would be the classic psychological impact a person would have if they'd had an absent father?
Well, let's talk about what father brings to the child, which is different to what the mother brings. One of the most important tasks that the father has, psychologically speaking, in the development of children, is to help the child separate from the mother. See, the father comes along to help the child break away from the mother. So emotionally speaking, particularly for boys, it's important that this happens at some point. And it's important, because the second part of the book looks at relationships, fathers and relationship. It's important because it means that the child has emotionally separated from the mother and can go on to form bonds with other women. So our relationship, our experience of being fathered, or not fathered as the case may be, and mothered, you know, does influence how we relate later on to intimate partners.
Some people would say, given Irish men's relationship with their mothers, Irish fathers haven't been doing a very good job for a long time. I don't mean to be cynical about that, but I mean, it is a point, I suppose. The book is called Reclaiming Father, and yes, I suspect that it's going to have a growing audience. So we wish you well with that. Thank you very much. Nice to see you again. Thank you. Benig Mauger, and the book is called Reclaiming Fathers. We'll go outside now to Alan, where he's surrounded by birds of the feathered kind.